This episode of High Press is brought to you by Manscaped. The best in men's below the waist grooming. Products are precision engineered tools for your family jewel. Manscaped's performance package, the ultimate men's hygiene model. Join over 4 million men worldwide. Trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Code HIGHPRESS, manscaped.com. My maths is correct. It's about 8 million balls.
Look, we finished the season, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, we got it, man.
It's been
Congratulations.
over a year.
So how many episodes?
10. 9 or 10.
Are you guys ended? This past 3 days. Yeah,
4 o'clock wait. It's like your productions. 4 o'clock wait.
Someone I've always admired, Greg Fowl, the executive producer on the Sundowns documentary and Teko documentary, someone who I've always admired for his work. Welcome to High Press, big man.
What's happening, my man?
Yeah, no, I'm just, you know, today I realized that, you know, anything is possible. You know, for me, seeing you here today, I mean, we spoke about this a week ago. You know, I hit you up on Instagram and I told you, look, you know, come through, you know, come through and, you know, spend some time on the podcast and let's talk about things, you know, and to see it happen is powerful, you know. I know you and Kensani have done great work in your guys' space. And I always say that this platform is for the players, and by the players, I mean everybody. You guys are players in your own industry, in the creative space, in the film space, in the filmmaking space, storytelling space. And you guys are the guys who are creating culture in your guys' own industry. And now you guys have come into the football industry and shaken things up. You guys really have. So it's really an honor to have you guys here. And, you know, I really, you know, I'm interested to hear more about, you know, your guys' story, you know, how FYNN Co came about and your guys' relationship, you know, and yeah, I wanted to know really, because when we were speaking out there, you know, you're telling me about Chelsea and you're telling me about, you know, Liverpool, and we're talking about that. What is your relationship with football like? Is it something you've always loved? Because I know to do a documentary about football is not just something you do, it's something because you're passionate about it, yeah?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, firstly, I think this is epic what you're trying to do here and get moving with.
Yeah.
And I really hate doing interviews. And so the fact that you're putting yourself out there made me put myself out there, which I think is it's what we need.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's happening, my man. I think I started loving football, I was probably 15 or 16, and I remember rugby was a part of my high school career, and that's what all my energy was in as a kind of what I played. I tried to play soccer, but I was really bad at it, and but I tried, like fuck, I tried my best. And then I would support, I didn't really follow local football, I didn't have a lot of interaction with it at all.
Yes.
But I followed Premier League, and at like 15, 16, you're trying to determine who the teams are you're going to support. And my old man got me a Chelsea jersey because he has family over there, and I got a Frank Lampard jersey.
Crazy.
And after that, like,
I
fell in love with them.
Yeah.
And the more and more, I guess, time progressed, and they became a side. I also really liked Leeds for quite a while, and then when they got relegated, I kind of stopped following them. And yeah, I mean, that's where the love of football came in. I'm by no means an expert. I by no means know as much as this esteemed gentleman to my left.
But you guys have done something for our industry that I think is something that's pioneering. You know, I always tell Kensani, and we spoke about it, was it yesterday? We spoke about it, and I just said, you guys started this. You guys started this culture of pushing positive narratives about the stories that are untold. You know, you guys are bringing to life the untold stories that us football players and, you know, the other colleagues in the industry, players and managers and coaches and legends, they want these stories to be told. And you guys brought that to life. And for me, that is pioneering, you know. And, you know, I remember that first season when Cape Town City came out and just seeing you guys, the way you guys marketed the club from social media to the way you guys did player announcements. I mean, don't you think that was something we had never seen?
Yeah, I think their relationship with Cape Town City is how my relationship with Greg started.
Yeah.
You know, Cape Town City, like now, the moment you say it to anyone who supports any team in the country, the first thing they will tell you about is how they take care of their social media, how the clean look they have, their player announcements, and just their social media presence, and also having a very smart and edgy social media manager and social media person there. Julian is doing a great job, and I really loved what they were doing, and I had to find out who are these guys and why do they do this? Because you know you have the biggest clubs in the country that they don't do that. I mean, like you watch the player announcements now, you find a player in a restaurant holding a jersey, and you wonder. Wonder. I mean,
and we were speaking about that. I DM'd Greg the other day, and I think he was talking about. I don't know if he tweeted something about a social media of the Springboks or something, and then I told you cricket essay. And I told him, I sent him a message and told him he must go check out Bafana social media. You know, and I realized like at that level, like, you know, that's a national pride. You know,
and
those
they're
type of
posting
things are
pictures
important.
with filters.
Yeah.
They're posting pictures with what's the app? Snapchat filters.
I don't know.
I really couldn't believe it. At one point I thought, is this a joke or is this something that's... Because sometimes you don't know, maybe like this person is trying to get engagements and they just do something deliberately. But I'm like, no, this person seems like they're serious.
Yeah, I think if you go down the national sporting route in general here, you're going to get the same corner. You're going to end up in the same corner every time. The social media presence across all our national teams has a lot to be desired. For me, I think domestically sports are better. Teams are doing better work. But I think even if you look at the Springboks, and I mean, I don't know how and why it's happening. Maybe they're just not targeting their funds into that space, and funds are limited, so they have to go to performance first, which I'd assume is the case. But yeah, I think...
Yeah, definitely. Look, for me, I always look at things, sometimes I think with a creative brain, sometimes I think like a player, you know. And yeah, no, I definitely agree that, you know, a sense of quality when it comes out to how we brand our teams and our players. You know, I think it's so important, and you're right. For me, it sucks to see that our national teams maybe don't endorse. You see, when there's a change in branding and a change in how we market our athletes, like the US does and how the UK does for their players, it opens up doors for their athletes, for our athletes to explore more opportunities. You understand? Our stories are being told correctly, and that's my biggest thing is. And I say it again, that you guys pioneered that, you know, with Cape Town City especially. You know, tell me about that relationship. How did that, you know, come about? Because for me, it's something I watched and I was just like, you know.
So, I mean, I was like a typical South African sitting on the outlines. I hadn't grown up in local football, so I didn't have a team to like put my flag behind, so to speak. And it was going through an interesting personal phase in my life where I was exiting a business I'd been involved with for 10 years and trying to look to like, how did I want to move forward with my career? And I had a history in adventure sports. And a lot of like, that was the world I'd been in. Outdoor, I'd been working with a brand called Salomon they're based in France. And my business partner and I had been working on a thing called Salomon TV. And outdoor sports basically for me were the pioneers, for that word's sake, of branded documentary films. So if you look at Arc'teryx, Salomon, North Face, these brands were making films for Red Bull, for American European markets. We got a deal to work with them. We were good price points. They had quite a few South African runners on their team. And we got to travel the world and make documentaries for 5 years. But yeah, that's a whole different long story. But certainly I needed a change in my life. And sport, Ken Sani was saying off camera earlier, like sport has a powerful way of helping bring people together. And in a country like ours where there's often a lot of tension, or the media is portraying a lot of tension to us, we need to remind ourselves that actually we all get along and we all share a lot of things regardless of how we look. And to not subscribe to that kind of narrative too much and remember the good things. And Cape Town City, just like the brand took the world by storm, took a lot of people by storm. It came out, they did this beautiful brand. The guys that built that brand are super smart, the original design team behind that. And the Committers family and Michelle really like, when I sat down with Michelle the first time and said, listen, this is what I want to do. Look at what other people are doing overseas. Can we try this? And he said, sure, let's go. And I think the first thing we ever did was like a change room piece, which literally just followed the players from inside onto the field. I had never experienced that in my life before.
It's a feeling you can't explain.
Yes, and I think we called it rituals. I'll never forget it. And I remember I was editing it on like a Sunday at my house in Cape Town. And when it came out and we saw just the first impact, the first feedback we got from Cape Town City was so powerful. They loved it. Everyone was behind it. And that just opened up the club to us. So then Tinkler led us into the change room whenever we needed to be there. We never had any embargoes on anything really. There was a really cool energy in the club. Players had come from all over, right? Yeah. I heard a story of like Tommy arriving with a plastic bag. And like,
for real?
This is now my new home, what's happening? And now look how brilliant he is. I mean, he's become the most capped player there, the captain. But there were all these epic stories for us to pursue, and we just went for it. And that's, we're in a continuous relationship with them.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think with Cape Town City, you guys made people fall in love with that club. Yeah. You know?
Well, we did what other people were doing in other parts of the world.
I understand, but it's something that we haven't seen.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is exactly like this platform, for example, like we were talking outside, it's the first to be done in this country, which is so important for the culture, for creating football culture, you know what I mean? And again, you're talking about Michelle being a young guy and understanding that. And we were speaking about maybe in other clubs, maybe in other organizations, they don't have the level of understanding of, what international level of, understanding culture, understanding how clubs are doing it overseas. Maybe the older guys have their own way and traditional ways of maybe, connecting with the fans through whichever way,
Yeah, the moment you talk South African football to someone who's neutral or doesn't have a team they support, like for example, you had taken Greg and placed him at FNB like during a Soweto derby.
For sure.
That's the standard he will know like South African football for. You know what I mean? And then if you were to take him to other teams or other games, maybe like 9 other, and then like he's gone to like 10 games, he will always remember the Soweto derby. So this is why like Chiefs and Pirates, like historically are the biggest teams in the country because of their following and also because of how Chiefs was formed. The owner was from Pirates, so they have a rich history. So those teams are the teams that I always looked at. Sundowns came up, now Sundowns is like the standard. So those teams never went that way. Their marketing is done in a traditional way. And you know the old saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And they were winning for so long. But now Sundowns have like come up and like just disrupted. And I think you have to, I think our traditional big teams have to they have to look at what other teams are doing outside. They have to try to, their budgets have to take a detour somewhat to their marketing departments so that they can bring it up. Pirates are doing well now because like if you can see what they're doing digitally, Chiefs is one of the best e-commerce. They're very good like at the e-commerce space.
Consistency and longevity.
You know yes. So if they were to do what Cape Town City is doing, their brand image would be would soar. Like it'll go way and above what we're seeing on the continent, which is what, since Coach Bizo Msimane went to Al-Ahli, because like we see a lot of Al-Ahli now because of him being there, you kind of see that these people are taking this thing seriously. And I think if our big teams take that route, the route that Cape Town City didn't, for me, because of I study a lot of what international teams are doing. Cape Town City didn't do much. But the small they did, because it's not done in South Africa, it gets highlighted so much.
Exactly. And that's my point, is that it hasn't been done. And the fact that you guys did that was next level, you know. I think with the Sundowns documentary as well, we just got to highlight the stories of especially Teko Modise, someone that, you know, I'm yet to meet, but someone I'd love to meet someday, and hear his stories as a player, and as you know, as an inspiration to so many people, you know, from where he comes from, you know. How was that process? Take me through that process, because, you know, I watched it and I couldn't take my eyes off of it. What is the production process like that? How long does it take? Is it, you know, is that years?
Those are terrifying questions, man. But I got to know Teko a little bit in Cape Town when he finished up his career there. And we did a couple of pieces, segments for City around key highlights of his career, I think announcing his departure too.
Yeah.
So then he signed up with Sundowns to become a content ambassador, a conversationist, a cultural icon. I mean, pick your word for Teko, he's all of them, right?
All of them, yeah.
And we did an announcement for Sundowns that he would come back. That was the first piece we got commissioned to do by the chairman. And then we just spoke a lot. Like, I'd got to know Teko Modise quite well over the last couple of years, just through a shared love of entertainment and storytelling. And I got to pitch on some stuff a couple of years ago that unfortunately didn't end up happening. And when Teko shifted into the club and we sat down with him, with Kloppy, and said, listen, how can we start to tell some stories? And a lot of it came from him. Like a lot of this idea is that let's really start to let people see the culture and the identity.
Young-minded person again.
Absolutely. You know? And I mean, a guy that has, he must have a difficult job, eh? The amount of people that need his time every hour of every day. And that he certainly has a unique vision that I haven't come across too much in sports in this country. So he gave us this opportunity. And the honest story is that it took a long time to work out what it actually was. Like, we started working on Teko's film about a year ago now. So early June, we would have been filming. And originally the ambition had been to do really short 5, 6, 7 minute films. But we looked at the first cut together, and the chairman said, like, there's so much more to Teko's story. We can't just release 8 minutes of this guy's story. What about this? What about this? What about this? So we took a step back, and we just started basically again. All of the content we shot in June and edited ended up in the movie. But then we spent 6 months, reworking what the film would be, reshooting a bunch of stuff, and we added 3 other films to the deliverables. So we did the
one with
Klogi, and we did the legend that is Nixon. And for us, you know, we'd been working with City, we started working with Sundowns, we needed to learn about the Sundowns culture. And the world Nixon opened up to us to actually see these are what fans believe in. This is the old school. This is the world that it's come from. And then meeting all these new fans along the way. And Ken Sani and I was trying to work out where I met him, but I know at some point he was featured in a Cape Town City film in the background.
Really?
And then that's somehow how we started banter, or you started getting shit about it, or...
No, they did a film for Cape Town City when they won the MTN 8.
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah, and at the time, my younger brother Mpo was playing there, so I was there. So I wasn't even speaking or anything, but I was just in the stands. So they just happened to be shooting while I was around. And I think he saw a lot of me in edit.
Is it?
And then, but we were following each other on Instagram, I think. And then someone asked me, I think Kirsten asked me last week, where did you meet Greg? And I couldn't even make it up where I met him.
Look at that.
I think we were taught, FYNN TV was something we spoke a lot about offline. And then as we worked more and more with Sundowns, like Ken Sani became a great middleman for us to the culture, the communities.
That's what I was going to say. He must have been so vital for your guys' production.
Well, we can't exist without trust. We can't do what we do without trust. The trust of the people we're filming, and I think there's one thing for the club to commission a project, and I think I'd worked hard on Teko's trust for a long time, that he was honest with us from day one. But opening up to the wider Sundowns family was absolutely, without a doubt, something we needed, and Ken Sunny opened a lot of that up for us. And those films, so like it takes a lot of time in post-production to create a story. We don't go in with a script and with storyboards, and we know the scenes we want to shoot and the tones we want to get and the moods, but a lot of it happens in post. And Dumi Sabanda, he's literally finishing the last Sundowns Stories film at the moment. It's all going through polishing at the moment. Like, that guy has not worked on anything else for a year. He has spent every working day working on Sundowns Stories as an editor. And I mean, just his journey in football and his journey as a creative person warrants, like, he should be sitting here talking to you about what he's learned about himself, what football's given him. Because without his, I believe I'm good at telling stories and understanding how to make a story happen and what it costs, and getting all the people on board. But you need creatives like that are able then to turn that into this piece of art, so to speak. And that's where a guy like that is, and his journey is only starting. Like, he's going to be an unstoppable force.
That's what I really see, is that every time I watch your guys' work, you know, whether it was with Cape Town or whether it was a Sundowns documentary, it's art. And that's what I love about it. Like, I'm a big fan of art, whether it's music, hip-hop, like whatever, fashion. I also enjoy that. That's what I enjoy outside of football. And just to see your guys' cinematic feel, the art behind it is amazing. Like, in terms of your guys' team, how long has it been together? Have you guys been in the FYNN company? How did that originate?
So that, I mean, City was my first client. That was, and when I transitioned out of my old business, I thought I'd be a freelancer for a while, and then Cape Town City got motivated, and another client, an old client of mine, she's ran an NGO in China, and she had a really big project that needed support, so I had to hire in a few people for that, and within 3 months it was an entity, and this is 2017. And it just grew pretty quickly. So I have 9 or 10 people. People either really work in our office or they don't, and we know pretty quickly. And so we've had quite a few changes happening over the last 3 years, but our core is there. And I mean, Andrew King, who directed 2 of the films on Sundowns Stories and is a cinematographer and edits a lot of the work too. He's a kind of producing, directing powerhouse. Kirsten's one of the producers in the team and also looks after a lot of our client management. That's a whole world of its own. And then we have these multi-talented creatives. Either some are specialists, like James is a specialist editor. He's moving more and more into the directing space. And then we have a couple of like editor shooters. And then Caroline is a person I've worked with. She was in my previous business with me. She's taking on this mantle of being a director too. So she's busy on her first feature documentary.
Fantastic.
So yeah, you either don't do what we do to make a lot of money. You got to do it because you love it. As this industry grows, maybe more and more money will become apparent. But you gotta commit to a labor of love first and foremost.
That's what I was gonna say. Would you find yourself as an entrepreneur or a creative?
That is my 50 million rand question. Every day of my life, I try and decide, because if I wanted to be a pure creative, I wouldn't go through the ball ache of being an entrepreneur. It's not an easy, and I'm a really independent person that. I mean, that's quite a polite, like, I don't like listening to other people. I don't like having a boss. So I try and do it all myself and grow the thing myself. But that comes with its own wild stresses. It does.
And that's crazy, you know. Something I've noticed, even the players coming onto the podcast, is that commonality of they don't want anybody to tell them what they want to do. Everybody that we've brought onto this are people that are moving culture, guys who are pioneering things. And that is so crazy to think that, because even if I play football, I share that. I share that with you. Like, I don't really like listening to people either, because I believe in my vision so much. Sometimes I even just block out the noise. I'm just tunnel vision on what I need to do, you know? What was your relationship, Kensani, with his team? Like, how did you guys find working together?
I mean,
I'm sure you enjoyed it.
I think Greg has just been kind enough to open up his world, and also not just him, but it's actually mostly the team that works at FYNN Company are the people that I deal with most of the time, because Greg just opened up a door for me to just learn. You know, I think he just sees the things that I've done, like actually working with them helped shape what I do for Masandawna Fan Vlog.
For sure.
So every time I come back from a shoot, my mind works differently now. Like, I know how to put pieces together what we must do, what we mustn't do. And my relationship with him and my relationship with the team at FYNN Co. I don't know how many times I have to tell people, no, I actually don't work at FYNN Co. Really? You know what I mean? Because I'm just a person that...
For now.
For now,
Look at
course.
that. I told you the podcast was a good idea.
No, Kensani knows. The minute we open the Joburg office, he's employee number one.
Yeah. But my relationship with them is, I think, I love the way he does things, and for me, I can see things. I'm not a very technical person, so most of the time on shoots, like, I'll try to figure out how the cameras work, like just watching what they do and how they do. But I just for him opening the door for me to just see and learn is one of the biggest things. If I told him after the Majambeni film, the Nixon film, I told GI actually, the director, that if I never do anything else in my life, I'm satisfied just to see that piece of work being done, and for me, for them allowing me to be at least like lend my 2 cents worth and to be part of it. Is one of the best things for me, and I learned so much, bro. Like, if you look at Masandawna Fan Vlog, my relationship with FYNN Co, and if you watch it now, you will see the small nuances that show you that I've been around the best in the country.
So I think one of the most frustrating things for me is that what Kensani chooses to do with the vlog does not get financial backing. That there's not... If I had the money and if our business could afford it, I'd back it 100% of the way.
I believe
and
that
it's
too.
really frustrating that things like that are not seeing the light of day, and so that he has to mine every day. He's an entrepreneur in that space, trying to get that growth going. And like, I just find it fascinating in SA that you talk about pioneers. That's a pioneering, fan-focused content, fan-generated content that absolutely has elevated its production level over the last 3 years. But it blows my mind that what does that say about the marketers behind the brands in this country? That they're not looking for opportunities like that. Where else are you going to get the hits? Organic, direct, guaranteed hits
100%.
every week. Any brand puts their name in front of that, they're getting those eyeballs too.
And fighting against paid views on YouTube every single
with Sundowns Stories, we haven't put any money behind paid media. And we had lofty ambitions of hits, and then we look at Teko and it's done 100K.
100K, I saw that now.
And if you asked me a year ago, I probably would feel like that's a failure. But then I step back and I think like that's the finish rate's really interesting. That's long form on YouTube.
Long form, yeah.
Getting no one's being told to go there, apart from if you follow like 3 social channels. And Rob Marawa did some PR for us.
Fantastic.
PR. He did an interview with us. But the fact that it can do that, I think you got to take a positive out of that.
No, it is. It is a big positive, and you
I do, sorry.
Huh?
I've got to take a positive out of that. You don't have to.
No, I know. You're right when you say, Kensani's platform needs that.
No, it is. I mean, I would hope that through what you're doing, that this generated and smart fan content can really become a part of our culture.
I believe in Kensani. He's believed in me as a player. He still believes in me, and I always believe in what he is doing. I've always shown and told him that his platform will go places that those type of platforms haven't in this country.
Yeah, and it needs these type of platforms being built, and we need consistency in like the new platforms that come up, so that by the time we all look back, it's now a space that exists without individuals, but with the type of content we're pushing. So this, like I was telling you when we had Neo on the show, is that my Sundowns fan vlog has taken a life of its own. We started it, but it's now owned by Sundowns fans. So even if you don't see us there anymore, it exists. You know, so you guys, what you're doing here with Prince and the rest of the team is you must push high press so much that high press goes above what you would do as an individual. Like, people must just link you to starting it and driving and pushing it, but it must have a life of its own.
Entity of its own.
Exactly. So,
just like Greg was talking about these companies.
Yeah, so the more of these type of things we are pushing, the more Sundowns stories comes up. If you were to, like I was telling you about like Spotify, saying they will channel like 100K US dollars to 10 podcasters.
I still need that plug, Mike. I still need that plug, please, man.
So for them, like 5 years from now, they must say what type of content is being pushed in South Africa, and they must look at YouTube and say, oh, here are the big players, but not the individuals, but their content, the content spaces as well. So the more we have these type of platforms, the more it will be easier for these brands and institutions like to bring in money into it.
No, I know. And look, I sit here, right? And I look at this, just the three of us sitting here, and I say, do you realize we've got each, I don't know, you guys must try your best to understand me right now. We've got each level of the football industry. If I talk about the fans' perspective,
of course,
we talk about the players' perspective, and we talk about the guys who are actually doing the work and telling our stories.
The guys who are pushing the highest of quality work.
Highest of quality. And that's what high press is also about. You know, when we came up with the name, we said high press is a tactic in football in order to put pressure on the opposition, in order to choke them to win the ball, and now we take control of culture, for example. And high press also states quality. It's high press, so high form of media.
Of course.
All right, and that's what we're trying to do. And we need collaboration. We need people to work together. We need platforms like Masanda Wana Fan Vlog. We need FYNN Company to come on board. We need high press. We all need to push this football culture together in order to change the bigger things, the social issues, to push, you know, the narratives correctly for our players, for the fans. And we need to create a good working environment in this country, because we spoke about it yesterday. The controversy sells. Those newspaper articles sells, but you know, like I said, we had Riyadh earlier, and he was talking about his, you know, his personal life. And I hope that the audience over here starts to realize that he's human. He's more than an athlete, you know. And that's one thing I also picked up in the Teko documentary, even Hlogi's one as well, was that it just opened up that each athlete has their own story, and you guys picked on those stories and created it into a documentary. You know, we see this in the US, guys. We see it in the US week in, week out. There's a documentary coming out. Last Dance came out. Kanye West documentary came out. You find the All or Nothing for Manchester City. You find it for Tottenham Hotspurs. Like, it's being produced on the regular. You guys are the first ones to do it here, and we need to continue. We need to continue building it, driving the ideas. And like I said, for me, I'm so grateful to hear from you guys and understand your mind, because even when I spoke about being a creative and an entrepreneur, it's like, where do you strike that balance? Where do you strike the balance of being a creative and an entrepreneur? Like, for me, sometimes I always find, like, for my projects outside of football, I'm sometimes creative and I need to monetize those ideas. You know, finding monetization for your ideas, do you find that difficult? Does that come with ease, or does it come with experience? Like,
so I guess I'm an entrepreneur so that I can be creative, because I believe no one else is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
And opportunities are tiny. There's not a lot of opportunity around in our industry, certainly not.
Yeah.
We know in South Africa that we have a struggling economy and gross unemployment and all of the things. So you have to just take a punt on yourself. You can sit and follow the rules and go down the road and get the job and get the pension, and that for some people either is what they have to do or is what becomes of it. But if you, like I have a deep belief in like no regrets when the time comes at the end of life, and you've got to go for it. You've got to take a bet on yourself and risk a lot. So I guess you could, if I was a pure entrepreneur, I'd find a product that I could sell that made me a lot of money and enjoy life all the time. But I realized how difficult it was just to raise finance to make projects from day one, from 15 years ago. Brands have entered the fray and pay for a lot more opportunity now to do things. And in my other life, like I work with financial services, and they pay us to make documentaries, and that's a whole interesting world in its own for me. But the reality is that it's hard to raise money, so you have to take a lot of risks on yourself. And in order, my philosophy has been make yourself indispensable. Okay. So if it means you work extra hard in the beginning and you don't get nearly as enough money as you need, it makes people realize how valuable you are, because you care so much. You're prepared to take that level of risk on yourself. And in doing that, you put yourself in a position where they know, like, shit, no one else is going to give me what they're prepared to give me at a level that they're prepared to give me. So I'm going to support them. I'm going to give them money. I'm going to help them grow, whatever that may be, whatever that world is you've created. What I'm working on more and more now is how to get private equity to pay for stories. Yeah. So Mamelodi Sundowns Stories is branded content. Yes. But it's not overtly branded.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, we don't have Sundowns logos everywhere you look, and we're not talking about Sundowns in a way that we're marketing the club. Yeah. We speak to the honesty and integrity behind there, and you know, they're such a highly, the performance is unbelievable. When you look at what they've won in the last decade, their performance is second to absolutely no one. So the fact that they're often misunderstood by the general public, and the perceptions are super, you add whatever you wanted to that statement, the perception is what it is. But for me, like, I don't feel any of that. I go into this world and there's all these driven human beings that want to do really make something of their lives and be the best they can. So when I said earlier, I don't like listening to people, I think there's some people, you know, you can learn from. Yes. And you want to sit down and take on that wisdom. Yeah. But I want to be able to define the rules in which I exist and do the things I choose to do. But I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but the point is that...
I'm listening, I'm learning, like you just said.
The point is that, like, Sundowns Stories is a great example of a project that gave us a chance to show what we're capable of for a brand, first and foremost, that is the best brand in its space in the country right now. Yeah. It certainly, like, has to compete with Chiefs and Pirates in terms of the deep history and intensity of that brand and the almost global appeal of Chiefs and Pirates. But I think the more that Sundowns show who they actually are and what goes on and who these greats are, I didn't really know who HLOMPHO was. And I still don't really know who he is. But through the opportunities we've had to speak to him, you can see why Sundowns fans think he's just, he is the club, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So you're saying you still want to dig deeper into that?
Absolutely, and I mean, we hopefully this is just the beginning of this.
I believe that.
And we really, as a business, want to be pushing into more long form. Like you were talking about the last dance, that for me is is what my benchmark is. And I believe when you choose to set out to do something in life, you've got to be like Kobe. You've got to choose to be the best at what you want to be in, whatever it is. If you're an accountant, if you are a teacher, whatever your calling has ended up being, be the best. Like, play in the World Series of it. Make sure your career gets you there. And for us, like, I will not rest easy until I've made my last dance. And for now, we kind of have ideas on what that is. And we also have a lot of interest in moving into fiction. Crazy. With like story and documentary, the way we shoot as a baseline. You're not going to see us doing Avatar. But I don't know, like, my favorite film is Moneyball. And I want to make films like that, man, that deal at the moment, that are in the world of, I mean, sport obviously is a big love of mine. But
that seems like it's definitely the topic, you know, sport. And you know what, I'm fascinated so much in the way I've never met someone like you, Greg. I really haven't. I've never met someone like you, and I can understand why you guys enjoyed, you know, working with Greg. Because for me, my mind is, you know, is performance. It's, you know, get things done. And sometimes I think creative now and then, but I can see you're someone who is so passionate about what he does, someone who is fully invested in what he does, and someone who is out there to tell the stories, the untold stories. How do you identify that? How do you identify the stories? Like you said with Sundowns, okay, sure, you know the individuals you want to dig the stories into, but do you walk around, let's say, you said your office is in Sea Point, let's say you're walking down Sea Point, then what's going through your mind on a daily? What type of mentality do you have? What is it?
My brain never stops. I cannot rest. Like, I have people that know me well will give me a lot of like stick about it, I guess. But like, I'm always thinking about something, doing some kind of calculation, or I don't know, it's ADD. It's something, I've never been diagnosed with anything like that. But I'm always like, there's hamsters running creativity, all the fucking time. So I've sworn a lot.
That's okay. It's okay. No problem.
But the stories, I mean, it's a combination of stories and of running a business and of a problem that someone's having, or like I guess, I don't know how your brain works, and I don't know how your brain works, but mine doesn't know how to shut down. I can't turn off. I struggle deeply to turn off. I struggle to watch stuff on TV. Like, I will spend 30 minutes watching something and then shit, I need to get my laptop, check something, this has happened, and maybe I need to work out why.
Would you say you're so passionate and obsessed with what you do?
I think I know what the stakes are, man. And I know that only one person's going to make me reach my goals in life, and that's me. You. And having kids and like the most understanding wife on the face of the planet allows me to also like really enjoy. I love my kids like there's no tomorrow.
That's what I was gonna say. You know, I went through your Instagram the other day, when we spoke about you coming on here and just seeing your kids all over. You know, from the film shots of your kids to the, you know, so there was a selfie that you posted for Father's Day. Seeing that, like, you know, you look like a great father through social media. So I'm assuming you are. I
think I'm a very nurturing human, and I think that's why entrepreneurship works for me, because I get to help other people hopefully achieve their goals, and I get very frustrated by people who make excuses about why they're not achieving things. And I understand, like, South Africa is laden with historic issues that make it really difficult for some people to achieve their dreams. So you have to make sure that you're giving opportunity where you can. You know, our governments, our finance ministers speak to small businesses being the only way to break the unemployment cycle in this country and give people opportunity. That relies on small businesses here, like all doing their thing and creating opportunity, because we're in such a specialist industry. I can't go to university and hire a lawyer. My industry needs a certain kind of personality that's willing to learn, that possesses some kind of skill that I need, and is willing to know that, like, don't come and tell me you don't want to work overtime. because it's the passion. Like telling me you don't want to work overtime is telling me you're not passionate about what you're doing.
Your field, sorry to cut you off, but your field doesn't even have overtime.
There's
Because
no such
if you're there, like, you know, if you're passionate,
sure.
the clock means nothing.
And I see it with the guys here at Pixel Nation.
The clock means nothing if you're passionate about something. And when the moment he says overtime, it's something that I've always had in my head, because only until I got a peek of what they do over at FYNN I realized that I'll be on a shoot and someone will be like, have you eaten anything? And I'm like, yeah, I had breakfast. They're like, it's 4 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, I haven't had lunch. But I go back to my day job and I already know what time my lunch is. But and my wife always teases me about it. She's like, it shows you where your passion is. And he mentioned his wife being understanding. And it's one of the things that I've started to realize now with me doing more, that my wife is so understanding because also she has seen where my passions lie. So I'll go on shoots. For example, last week I was on a shoot and I had to wake up at I think around 4 or 5. And she charged my phone in the living room. And then when I woke up, I was like, why you charge my phone in the living room? You don't have to wake up early. And she's like, every time you have to go on a shoot, you don't even rely on an alarm. Like you just wake up at the time that you're supposed to wake up. And only then I get to realize that, okay, at least she's supportive and she understands like what I have to do. So when you speak of overtime, it actually, it's hilarious to hear.
No one who's ever achieved anything great didn't work overtime.
Even if you didn't put the hours in.
Any athlete that's worth their salt is the first one in the gym, the last one off the training pitch. They're learning all the time.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. And you know, you mentioned Kobe, right? Kobe is my top 2 athletes of all time. A lot, and I know for you, Kensani, probably the GOAT, the GOAT, you know. The day he passed, I got emotional for somebody that I didn't know
Never
a
met.
soul of, you know, I didn't need nothing.
I'll even tell you where I was when I heard he passed away. I was so mad at Nevo for like 2 days because he's the one who told me Kobe passed away.
I was in the States at the time, and I remember getting off a plane and getting into the airport, and you know when you see it in the movies when everyone's staring at a TV crying. I was like,
it's crazy.
What is? And then it's Kobe Bryant's passed away. You could feel anywhere you walked in the airport, like the whole nation there was like this, no matter what they looked like.
It's crazy because I was driving back from. It was a Sunday. I was driving back from. I think I went out to dinner with my wife and I was driving back. And when Neo called me, like the robot was green, but I slowed down to a point that the robot even closed. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What are you saying?" And he's like, because he called me, he's like, "Did you see Kobe Bryant passed away?" And I didn't want to believe it, and I hung up the phone on him because I wanted to see it for myself, like on social media, and I couldn't believe. I really couldn't.
But there's a guy, that father of the fact that he died with his daughter, and the fact that like he was going to do something with her. And another family, I didn't know a lot of, I knew the name and I'm not a big basketball guy. But the more I've unpacked what he meant and how he pushed himself and how he refused, the opportunities he created for other people, it's the biggest heartbreak, but it's also it's like a manifestation of making you realize how much you have to push yourself to be better. Because it's over like this, man.
That's why I say, like what he said now, that whether you're an accountant, a lawyer, you must try
anybody
to
can
be
have Mamba mentality, man.
Go to the World Series. It's
anybody
the
can
Mamba
have Mamba mentality.
Mamba mentality, man.
It's wild, and I think it's my unpacking why I'm the way I am. And I don't think I've even come close to achieving what I want to achieve. It's just starting in my brain. But it comes from those things. It's come from having moments in your life that alter you at 8 a.m. in the morning when you least expect it. That you'll never be the same from, and realizing how finite it all is. And that, again, you've got to take control of as much as you possibly can because... and I try not get overly melodramatic about it or too deeply philosophical about it, because I think for some normal people, for a lot of people, it's uncomfortable to think too deeply about things. and challenge themselves too far.
Yep. It's very powerful.
Yep.
Yeah, but I want my kid, like, I hope one of my daughters is into something I do on some level. And I've keep chatting to my wife, Robin, about when's the right time to take our oldest one on a mission and, like, see what we do. Because she's always sitting on the edits. I have a little edit suite where I live.
Okay.
And she's always intrigued by what, and she asks me about making films. And it's wild how that even motivates you more, man.
You know, I was watching Kobe's a documentary on YouTube. It's quite a popular documentary. I think it was done by an independent channel or whatever. And they had a countdown of the clock. I think it went from 24 down to 0, obviously his number. And the ending quote of the video said that the measurement, the measure of a man's greatness is how much he is able to inspire others through his work. And you guys have done that. Kensani, your work with Greg, what you've done for the football culture, I want you to know that we see it, we appreciate it as players, we see it, the whole football world in South Africa has seen it, and hopefully it spreads to Africa, to Europe, and our work can be recognized internationally in the football space. But you guys have done that, and you guys are a high press family. You guys have put high press on the culture. You know, you guys are choking it, man, and that's exactly what we need. So I'm a big fan of your work. I admire what you do, and I can't wait to see what you guys have in store.
Well, I hope we continue to have these chats as years progress and your endeavor here progresses, and we can push each other too, because ultimately you need peers to push you and keep you in check and make 100%. Sure that we're sticking to the reasons we do these things. Man. So congratulations.
Thank you so much for joining me, guys.
Good times.
Kensani.
Yeah.
Thanks for
guys. Thanks
for being part of it, so that I didn't feel too awkward.
My Pixel Nation family, shout out to you guys. This has been fantastic. You know, the belief you guys have shown in us. I just want to thank once again Grand Living for providing us with the furniture for the set and the styling, by Halogen International. This has been fantastic, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's an amazing setup. Thanks for having us.
It's a wrap.
Congratulations.
It's a wrap. Thanks, guys.